Hey guys, and welcome back to the Hobby Dude 007 channel. Well, today we're going to knock out the transmission for our Flathead hot rod engine. Stick around, let's have some fun. Hey guys, a quick shout out before we get to that tranny. On August the 20th, just a couple of weeks out, we've got the Carolina Custom Modeler Summer Classic coming up. Guys, this Atlanta, there's several shows that are among my favorite. This is near the top right here for sure. If you're in the area of Winston-Salem, Clemens area, definitely put this on your calendar now. It is sponsored by our buddy Wes at Wes's Model Car Corner. Always some great vendors. Kenny and the guys, these guys always put on a class show too. And of course we're doing this Flathead because one of the themes is Flathead engines. So we're knocking out the transmission for our Flathead today. So hey, mark that on your calendar. The host hotel has a block of rooms set aside, and I hope to see you there. Let's get over to that tranny now. Alright guys, if you remember, we're using a Shapeways 3D printed Flathead, and it came with the transmission. But it came with a Muncie 4-speed, which no problem. As you can see, we've got a really nice bell housing. I'm hoping that shows up pretty good. Mates right up to that Flathead beautifully. And then we've got our main body of the transmission, which we're going to be doing some drilling and cutting in this, and I will get to that shortly. But really good. I've already drilled a hole back here. I'll show you what that's for here in a minute too. And then here's our gear cover plate where the shifter linkages will go, and our tail shaft. I'm hoping that shows up all right. And being a Muncie transmission, now there's a lot of choices. You can use kit transmissions and use the same techniques I'm going to be showing you for this, or you can use Model Car Garage's number 2122 Muncie 4-speed transmission. And the cool thing, everything Model Car Garage does is there's always an instruction sheet. Check that out. There's how to bend all of your shifter linkages, the linkages for the tranny itself, all the routing, everything you need instruction-wise is right here on how to use this photo etch. And that is awesome. This Muncie transmission already has the block right here, as you see on the end. Let me grab my little pointer here. You see this little block right here, looking down on it, that's your mount for the shifter, whereas as you can see, that is not on the tail cone or the tail shaft for this. And we're going to be making that for this as well. And by the way, so you see the scale and all of that. You see the prongs that hold the transmission on. If we take the Model Car Garage Muncie and put up to it, boom, they're exactly the same. And this is really a good resin casting. And as you can see in some of these pictures here, y'all know I like to do a lot of my builds in an exploded view with the engine out and sitting behind the car. I've been doing that for probably 15 years on and off, so you can see more of the detail. And here is the photo etch fret with those linkages, and that comes with the kit. But as you can see, there's some really good stuff. And we'll be going over, I'll show you bending all that stuff too. It even comes with the rod, and we'll get into all of that stuff later too. And we're going to wrap this one up as far as the shifter or the linkage goes with Detail Masters number 2531 Hurst shifters. And also, and we'll show you this again too, but as you can see, there's instructions on how to do the Hurst shifters as well from Detail Master. This is really good stuff. It's the first time I've used these, so I really look forward to it. I saw Clay use one in, I think it was his Charger, his dirt track Charger, and let me tell you, I was super impressed with these, so I had to run grab some real quick. Lastly, as you see in these pictures of the research pictures, and these are just a few, you can go online and find pictures of Muncie transmissions running out your ears. So, and I suggest doing that. Find your research material, get all that stuff together, and you'll notice the gears and the splines. Well, where I get a lot of that stuff is right here. Find you an old, non-working anymore, or just shot clock mechanism, and we'll take this apart, and this one's a dead one. I think if you buy them brand new, they're only about $5 or something like that. But why do that when these things wear out over time? Find you one that's worn out, or just save them. And there we go. And take them apart. Let's do that real quick, and I'll show you how we find some of these splines. And while I'm taking these sides off, here's another shot of what we're going to be taking out of it. I use the parts out of these for flywheels, and you can, while these parts are plastic, all these gears are plastic, you can use metal clock parts as well. I find these easier to paint and kind of work around with. Okay, we've got our cover off here now, and take some of this stuff out of here. And now we'll start taking the gears out. You can just dump them out if you want to. That's just all right. But you can cut this. Well, where did my pointer go? There it is. You can take this one out, and here's you a good flywheel for a truck to go on the back of the engine, as you see on some of these. And here's another one. And I have a little container I keep all these little metal clips and stuff in. You'd be surprised what you can find to use these things for sometimes. Another gear. And these things do just pop apart all over the place. Get this part off. And this one, if you do small scale, do you see this little spline? Let's see if I can get my hand up here where you can see it a little. This little one up here, you can shave that off, and I can show you what to do with that later too. I think it's this one that I've already got. No, it's one of the other smaller ones. But you can see I've used one here too. Hopefully you'll be able to see the teeth. And this is the one we're going to be using on our Flathead. But I've got it in the gloss black, and I'm just going to shoot the metal finish, one of the metal colors, steel color over it. So we'll have our flywheel, and that's for our Flathead. And that came out of one of these. And as you can see right here, on this one, this big one is for if you're building a semi or something and going to have an engine out, this one's perfect. And that one's one of the starter splines, things like that. There's just bukus of things you can use out of these things, and you see one that's still up in here. We'll be pulling that one out. And you've got the back there. If you ever find something you need a worm gear for, you've got it all there. And make sure you don't leave any of these things in here. You just pop them all right out. And you've got all kinds of goodies you can use to detail. And this one again is dead anyway. So we're just going to take all of this stuff, these watch hands and all that stuff. We'll throw that stuff away. And but as you can see, there are lots of goodies in here that you can use. All right, guys, let's start building a transmission. Okay, guys, so I went ahead and I took our, since this is going to be an exploded view, I went ahead and took and drilled out, this is number 74 drill bit, and as you can see, I went ahead and the bell housing and drilled my bolt holes. Since this is going to be exploded, as I said, it'll be laying down there and you want to be able to see the openings. went ahead and drilled out the tail shaft where there'll be a piece sticking out of here. Of course, it's not going to be that long, but that'll be sticking out just a little bit, and then there'll be a little shroud around that. Also, like I said, on the tail shaft, we're going to be building up a little spot there to, oh, I just noticed too, I did not yet, but I need to drill this out right here. If you can see right there, that is the reverse, where the reverse lever will be on there, so I need to drill that out. I forgot that one, so I'll be doing that here in a minute. Went ahead and glued the side cover plate, and you can see from the side here the two little spots there where the linkage will be, and I'll be drilling those two out here in just a minute too. And as you see, I went ahead and drilled out, hopefully you can see here, yeah, there you go, the holes where the bolts will go through where it goes into the bell housing. But as life has it, as you see, there's one on the other side. And my thumb is over this one because I broke it off. I broke that one off, but that's not really a big deal. That's, as modelers, that's some of the things we do, is adapt and fix that. So let's find out. I've already checked this, and the thickness of our part there is, well, there we go, about 20 thousandths. And I went ahead and I just, it looked like it was 20 thousandths. I think this one's 20 thousandths. Yeah, roughly 20 thousandths thick. So we're going to be cutting just a small piece of this. Well, let me get my width on these things too here. There we go. So that's about 65 thousandths. I'm going to eyeball that and say that's about right there. And of course we can trim this down a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill my hole here, then I'm going to round these corners, and then I'm going to, probably the best way to do this is going to be to line this up, as you can see there, with the holes. Man, that looks really good on this side. There we go. And as you can see where the one's missing right here, I hope you can see that. I'll put a piece right there. I'll put the piece after I drill the hole in, and I'll move it over and over and over until it matches that right up. And I'm going to be using super glue gel, and then I'll probably have to do a little bit of sanding, just clean it up a little bit, but that's no big deal. So let me get that done. I'll get this drilled out, cut, rounded, and I'll get it glued on, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so we have gotten our reverse linkage port kind of drilled out there. I've already drilled out both of the linkage brackets here, the stems going into the gearbox, and as you can see from behind, and I guess it's easier to see from the front, we have replaced that piece on the front stem there, drilled that out, glued that back in. So it's time to get some color on this thing. So we're going to be shooting it with, I was going to use Tamiya fine primer, but I'm going to use the regular primer this time. You know how a lot of times the 3D printed stuff has a little bit of ridges in it that, even though as clean as this is, there are, like on the top and the bottom, there's just a little bit. I've sanded it a little, but I'm going to use the regular primer, not the fine primer on this right now. And after that, we'll get our base coat for our metal finish on it, and we're going to be rocking right along, and then we'll get into the the linkage area. Well, I've got to make the bracket for the linkage that goes up here, but beyond that, we're ready to go. Okay guys, I forgot about the shifter bracket for the transmission before I started shooting the primer. So what I did was I took a piece of 80 by 80 evergreen. Hopefully you can see that. Took my file and cut a little groove down in there, and that's just not gonna show up very well. And then I notched, if you notice the top of the transmission here, I guess I'm going to have to do that again, notched on the top just enough and fitted this to where it'll just slide right over. And I'm off camera again. And again, I guess I'll have to let you see it after it's primed. But and I'll shape it up a little bit more and bring it in a little bit closer there once I get that on there. Then I'll clean it up and bring it, like I said, a little bit closer into the transmission, so we got a place to mount the shifter and the linkage. So there we go. I'll get that glued on, we'll get it primed, and we'll be right back. Okay, so while the primer was drying, I went ahead and cut a set of the Hurst shifters, and I don't know that you can see the wording on there, but it'll have a wash down in that. I think these are really cool. And the shifter balls that come with these are a soft lead, so if you want to drill them out, which I did, use like a number 78 drill bit, which is about 16 thousandths is what they recommend. I think I went with just a touch bigger, but I don't think it's going to make that big a difference. But we'll be painting that next too. And I cleaned up that flywheel a little bit, and I don't know if that's very clear or not, but and we'll be getting our metallic color on that. And there is our bell housing with the holes we drilled in it, and the main tranny itself, which I think really, these 3D printed parts are really crisp. And you can see where I added the shifter mount back there on the back of the transmission, and hopefully you can see that. But this is a very well detailed, and let's see if you can see the holes for the bolt holes for the mounts there. But all right, let's go ahead and get our gloss black base coat on here so we can get our metal finishes on it. Are all clad, and we'll be back. The transmission's in the dehydrator. I'm letting that all-clad cure. It usually doesn't take that long anyway, but in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and build up our linkage arms and transmission levers for the 4-speed. And here's the pictures again. And study your research pictures, and you'll see how they are. Some of them are canted out just a little bit and then back up. And if you'll notice in the instructions, the Model Car Garage instructions, which this is for that Muncie 4-speed, you notice how these are kicked out just a little bit down here, a little bit less, and then there it kind of goes over to the other side for the reverse lever. And you'll notice here too that they come up and inward and straight back up, and then the same over here, but it goes outward. Study your pictures, and you'll notice on the actual photo etch fret, you've got the little lines where the bends will go, and on each of these. So all the parts you need are here. And also you'll notice I put this on a piece of green tape. And when you've got little parts like this, if you just take and cut them, those things tend to fly all over the place. If you remember my blooper reel from last year, I had that happen because I didn't put the tape down. But what I usually do is to make sure it doesn't, to be on the safe side, is like this little bitty one here. I'll take and put a toothpick and press down, put my optivisor on, and I'll get right down close and cut them loose. I've already cut all of these loose, but that way you don't have to worry about losing anything when you've got it on a piece of tape, and then they just lift right up. Okay, we're going to be using our Mission Models photo etch bender. And if you've not gotten one of these are really good. You just, and as you can see, you got different sizes and widths for different things. You can raise this up. The photo etch slides in, and it comes with a, and that's metal, by the way, and it comes with a razor blade, or you can get your own, and you put it right up in there and then just slide that under and then make your bends nice and easy. These are a soft metal, and these I have used this with this same set before, but I've also done it with just a couple pairs of tweezers, and it works pretty well that way too. But I want this to be, because it's going to be out of the car, out in the open, exploded, I want it to be very crisp, so I'm going to be using the Etchmate. So I'll get that bent up, and we'll start getting it together, and be right back. All right. Here is our shifter. I'm hoping you can see our Hurst shifter here. I scratch built some brackets from the parts bin, or my Evergreen and Plastruct bin. So there's our Hurst shifter. And of course all this, the white plastic will be painted black, and there'll be a couple of bolt heads holding the shifter in the bracket that goes into the shifter box. And here's a couple of pictures of the linkage that goes in the shifter box. These have been bent to their shape, and then here is a picture of them in the shifter box. And so there's the whole mechanism, and the shifter will be mounted in that. And as you can see here, these splines sticking out of the transmission, the copper splines, are what the gearbox linkage on the transmission itself are going to be mounted to. And we've got those on the transmission, and the gearbox is now mounted. Try to get my hand up here where you can see that a little better. So you can see the actually, this is a terrible place to, well, you see the splines there. Well, I've got them cut off now that the well, I'm hoping this thing will focus here. You can see that on the gearbox, the gear levers, and then the reverse, and then there's our three on the shifter box. And we'll be doing the linkage next. Then we'll mount the shifter. We'll put the stem in the front of the transmission, and we'll call this one finished. But I think this is turning out really well. So So we've got our linkage and our splines on there. And what came with the model car garage was, if you remember how this was all rolled up, it's really thin wire that you make your linkages and all with, as you see here on the instruction sheet that comes with a Muncie. I'm going to straighten these out, and if you remember how I do that, usually I just take a piece of paper, put it down, and a piece of glass. Since this is a small thing, I'm just going to, here, I'll use this metal ruler here, and all you do is, the reason I put that piece of paper down there is, as you can see, that dark stuff gets all over your mat. So I do that when I'm trying to straighten out a piece, and it bends very easily, so it's easy to keep going. There we go, nice and straight. So I'm going to make the linkage, get those mounted up, and we'll be right back. Our Muncie 4-speed transmission is finished and ready to be displayed with our hot rod flathead engine, which is coming up next. I think this really turned out well, guys. This is the Shapeways 3D printed Muncie 4-speed transmission that comes with the flathead with the Offenhauser heads in 1/25th scale from Shapeways 3D printing. The photo etch and the linkage rods are all from Model Car Garage, their Muncie transmission build. This one, the only thing I had to do was to add this little block right here to mount the shifter box onto. And that shifter box, by the way, was the biggest. Whew, you got to have some patience to get the gears inside that thing, or the levers inside that thing. But once you get that, it's pretty simple kit. If I can do it, anybody can. The linkage rods are soft. I think it's solder, actually, but it was really easy to bend the shapes. And again, your research will give you different configurations on the linkages, but I think they turned out really, really well. Love the Hurst shifter from Detail Master. I think the only challenge with that was really the shifter ball. It's a soft lead, and holding that thing still, trying to drill the hole was a little bit of a task, but honestly, you could probably have just glued it on the end. But it was pretty good. There's a few things I really like. You see the tail shaft down there, the little piece of stainless tubing that's coming out back there, and then one of our clock splines up here that comes out of the gearbox that's going to go into the flywheel and into the engine. I'm really, really pleased with this, and as I said, I believe it's really going to look good displayed with that hot rod flathead. And one of the ears that I broke off, I think that turned out well, the little patch job there. So I think it looks pretty good, but we're up on the flathead next. I've already modified a few of the clips that go on the engine, and we'll be getting into painting and really getting it together. Probably do 2 videos on it, not sure yet. We may wrap it up like this one. Got another video coming up that's got an announcement in it for, well, you'll see. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you're not a subscriber, head over, hit that subscription button, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Got some really good ones coming up. And hit the Teespring store. And guys, thank you so much for hanging around for this one. God bless, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.